There is a saying that the human body is one of the most complex organic quantum computer there is. Organic quantum computer. And of course it is directed by our focus, by our attention, and even more so, it is governed by our own self, by our own soul, or we can say our own spirit. And the more we allow our own spirit to function through this body, the more harmonious, beautiful, loving, and perfect way we live and create. So today we can recognize the key difference between linear living, linear meaning from A to B to C, like a line, versus the quantum way of living, meaning all at once. And now that our technologies are progressing in that direction, from we can say digital computing, those ones and zeros, meaning the on and off state, on off state. And the only way that so far things have progressed is at adding more computer power, or making 2 processors or 4 processors working together. But still, if you have 4 lines working together, it's still 4 lines. It's not the whole thing. It's not a totality. So the quantum technologies are way more advanced. It's a new generation. And actually, the universe is a quantum field. It's a quantum field manifestation. So the way that particles work are they working not in the Newtonian physics, they're working according to the quantum physics. So we are now entering a whole new era, and it's becoming mainstream. And these technologies are the new technologies that will truly accelerate the advancement and integrate so much closer within our natural self as well as the universe. So the quantum technologies are more compatible with our own biology and mind. Perhaps one day we will be able to direct technologies or computers with our thoughts without any chips. So we don't want to do that. But there will be a possibility to interact with the higher technologies through the thought forms and our intention and focus, and at the same time to interact with the universe itself. So none of the current computers interact with the universe because they're not compatible in the first place. But the quantum technology is compatible. So the universe is a quantum field, and it is a living being all at once. The universe does not live in the past, present, or future. It lives now. It lives only now. The past, present, and future is called time. It's called the timeline. And even the timeline of past, present, and future as a linear timeline is also in the now, in terms of the universe itself. Timelines are manifestations of fourth density. Time is actually it's not physical actually, it's a fourth density matter. Although it does have a physical component, but it's primarily a fourth density creation, manifestation. So, however, the fifth dimension and all the way up, there is no time, it's only now. So essentially time is also energy, and it's fluid, you know. Sometimes time feels slow, sometimes time feels quick. So it's not fixed really, and we only made a certain convenient way of measuring time according to our sun and our planet rotation, and it's only applicable to our own convenience. However, somebody in some other part of the galaxy would measure time completely differently, because they might have 3 suns or no sun, or even different kinds of setups. So time is relative, and the way humanity sees things is convenient for us, but for somebody else they see things differently. Coming back to the key distinction between linear thinking or linear mind versus the quantum mind, we can say, or the quantum consciousness, is to realize that the goal of any basic meditation is to step out of the linear mind. And the goal of any basic meditation, any real beginner's meditation, is to step out of the linear mind. And what happens then is that as you go into your inner space, as you go behind your mind, behind your thoughts, as I gave an example before, the river of the mind, but you step out of it, you step out of it, so then you start to connect with something deeper, more present, and you feel more connection with your own self and with the universe. So that's the first key step of any meditation, really, to start stepping out of the linear mind. If we observe our civilization, humanity now, it is primarily based in the linear fashion. And most of the systems and structures are based in the linear fashion, and it's an immense limitation. It's a very big limitation to function in a linear fashion. So this is why naturally people like to be in the nature, to spend some time alone. And then to meditate, of course, is to step out of that limitation and to reconnect with themselves deeper. This also indicates to us that if we look at the human natural body, the body is designed as a quantum biological organism. Or we may say as a quantum computer as well, processing this environment in real time. We are processing this environment in a real time. If you take a few moments just to really sink into this, we are processing this environment in real time. What do I mean by processing is that our eyes are seeing in real time. Our ears are hearing in real time. Your bodily functions are functioning in real time. Because if the heart was in the past and your lungs were in the future, you would have certain issues for sure. So interestingly, it is only somehow the focus and the mind which kind of mingles with the time as past, present, future, isn't it? But everything else in you is real time now. Everything else in you is a real time now. And it is known that your 5 senses are receiving 11 million signals per second. They're sending 11 million signals per second to your brain from the 5 senses, meaning your eyes, your ears, your smell, touch, taste. So 11 million signals are being sent per second to your brain for a real-time processing. That's amazing. That's amazing. And that's only your 5 senses, but your brain, as you start to meditate and go deeper, is processing a lot more than the 5 senses. So the term present means that you are present even beyond 5 senses. Yeah, you're even beyond the 5 senses. Present means pre-sense, before senses. Before senses, pre-sense, presence. Present is also a gift. Yeah, so looking at the brain, looking at the body, everything is real time now. So now the question arises, how come I, myself, me, is constantly struggling with the past and the future? Well, your body is here, first of all. Well, that's good news. But the me, myself, or I is constantly struggling, past, future, and then present to a certain degree. So the issue is somewhere in the mind, somewhere in the focus, somewhere in the also what's known as a subconscious. Because subconscious is also naturally a real-time, direct processing and storing mechanism. Your subconscious mind, as a terminology says. But what happens that since there is a certain glitch or distortion in the focus, in the mind, then the subconsciousness starts to store what is not processed for later. It becomes as a buffer. If you can't deal with this situation, okay, we're going to store it in the subconsciousness so that you deal with it later. And that happens totally automatically. But then, of course, you live in the now, and then you experience another new experience, and you might not be able to process that too, so that also gets stored in your subconsciousness. So subconsciousness gets buffered and gets clogged. It becomes full, and it becomes it becomes full of unprocessed feelings, of unprocessed situations that you, or experiences. Yeah, we may say experiences, because experiences can contain certain mental components, emotional components, even physical experiences, and so on. So subconsciousness starts to store the backlog, it starts to accumulate, and it starts to become clumsy. And it starts to veil your present experience because you haven't dealt with the past. You know, you haven't cleared up what has been accumulated. And sometimes there is one more issue which happens due to traumas when your nervous system gets damaged. And that's something not good. Yeah, and if you experience certain severe traumas and either psychological or physical, your nervous system might get damaged to a certain degree, and that then blocks the natural pathways for the energy, electricity to flow through, the life force energy to flow through, and then it becomes a blind spot. When the nervous system is blocked due to traumas, and so it becomes a blind spot. So then you develop a certain automated behavior and you don't know even why. Yeah, then you develop certain ways around that blind spot, but it becomes a very conditional behavior, and of course everything is trackable why a person behaves in a certain way, but for the person it becomes blind spot and they say, I don't know why I'm doing this or that, or why these things are constantly happening to me. So nervous system is something which is already of a physical nature, and these neuron pathways might get blocked up. So that would be already a certain physical damage. And the subconsciousness is more of a energetic nature, which also can be cleared. So of course the good news is that even the nervous system can be healed to the largest extent, and of course your subconsciousness can be cleared so that you may return to your real-time nature, real-time processing, real-time living, just like children do. You know, they're happy, spontaneous, wondrous. Something happens, they cry, next moment they're happy, and so on. So your brain also is functioning in real time, and it's kind of perceiving everything immediately. Yeah, it is. So I'll give you the big example of your focus versus your brain. So your focus is like, you know, in the older days there were horses, and the horses have these blinds, so they can keep on their path. So our focus is the same way. It's kind of this way, and everything is blurred out, isn't it? You focus like this, but then everything is blurred out. Yeah, and it's exactly how it is. But your brain is aware of what is blurred out. Your brain is aware that there are walls around you. You know, here there's a ceiling, the floor. In your focus, you're not paying attention. You're not paying attention to the things that are blurred out, but your brain is perceiving all of that, and your subconsciousness is also perceiving all of that. Yeah, so therefore everything is in your environment is perceived by your senses, by your brain, by your subconsciousness. Everything in your environment is already perceived, but your focus blurs them out. And what happens is that by the age of 35, a person is constantly blurring out everything to such a great degree that they are aware only of 5% of what is left. Yeah, and everything else becomes totally blurred out. Yeah, so there's a big disconnection from the present moment. And in a good sense, what it means that 95% you could perceive and live, experience more. And it's actually a very pleasant experience, you know. It's such a beautiful environment and weather and so on. And whatever happens really is quite amazing, because due to the ability of process everything, nothing is stored or kept or clogged, and you don't get also affected by that so much. Maybe in the logical sense you may think that if I feel and sense so much more, then, you know, so many more difficulties will come, but that's not true, because you will be able to process everything so much better, and you will naturally align yourself with a higher, we can say, vibration or consciousness, so that you are in the right time, in the right moment, and you know, everything is much more aligned, since you have such a much greater perception and presence in your immediate environment. So your senses are so much sharper and clearer that you may already sense and navigate out of certain circumstances and places and people and so on. So it becomes your best, your real-time processing becomes the best part of you, really, because everything is supporting your experience. So the limitation really resides in the focus, and then it primarily actually the focus limitation actually arises from the heart on the right, because that is where there is a certain contraction that creates a limited stream of energy, and then that limited stream rises into the focus, and through the focus it's perceived in a limited way. So people who have realized this and started tracing back, so where is my focus really? It's here, but if I meditate, it starts to shift. And it shifts in the heart, but not really. And then they sense that it actually originates, that contraction, that limitation originates in the heart on the right, in the channel of bliss. And there originates a contraction that narrows down this channel of consciousness and bliss, and thus makes the focus more limiting. Yeah? So that's the mechanics of on one side of your quantum capacity, real-time capacity, and then the issue of a limited focus, and how it starts to limit and create these blockages and inability to process everything real time. So therefore, clearing of the subconsciousness is very important task. Is to clear, behaviors, belief systems, and various patterns, and that is known to be highly effective by using the Theta meditations or Violet Flame meditations. They're actually nearly identical, because Theta vibration is a violet flame. The violet flame also has the additional effect of purification. Yeah, so when you focus on the violet flame, you're not only immediately resonating at a Theta vibration, but also purifying immediately. So it's twice more effective, we can say. So that's how you can start to clear out your subconscious, all sorts of beliefs, behavior patterns, and then you need to further relax deeper with your focus, and that's why I was guiding before, to relax your focus, yeah? To let it drop, to let it like a feather. Does everyone understand this guidance? Like a feather, you know what's a feather? Like a bird feather, yeah, and then it just kind of swings in the air, and then it just gently like just drops, and that's it. And another example is like a little wave in the lake. Yeah, the wind comes up and the wave arises, and then as the wind subsides, the wave becomes the infinite or flat water again. Yeah, so the same way your focus, you may picture it as a feather. It's a really helpful way to help it. You can't force your focus to become it even stronger. Yeah, that will not be beneficial for this purpose. So to go deeper into meditation and to allow everything to subside and relax is to use one or the other analogy of the feather or wave, to allow it to gently just drop and drop and drop and drop. Sometimes you will feel that there is a certain fixation, yeah, that the feather can't drop any further because you have to think about something, or there is a certain feeling requesting your attention. Yeah, so you have to disentangle or withdraw your focus from these particular thoughts, from this particular emotion, or these particular energetic sensations. Sometimes some healing is needed because some things are locked up in the subconsciousness, and that's why your focus is stiff, like a stiff muscle. It's stiff. So then you need a bit of healing ointment, to use some violet flame and theta meditation to heal that particular fixation, so that you may release your focus and it can continue subsiding into the peaceful present awareness. Yeah, it doesn't your focus disappears, but it doesn't really disappear, but because you are awake, you are aware. So you don't fall into sleep. Yeah, you don't fall into sleep. You gently subside into the present awareness, and that is the deepest awakeness.